My name is Jason Lopez. I'm a student from Bishop Ward High School, and I recently graduated, and I'm planning on attending UMKC.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I'm also a member of the Summer Mentoring Program of the Central Avenue Betterment Association. Today we have with us Mr. David Alvey, who is running for Wyandotte County Mayor/CEO. So, my first question is, how long have you lived in Wyandotte County for?
So I was born in Wyandotte County in 1960. I spent a lot of time in school, traveling to different cities, living in different places. I was actually studying to be a Jesuit priest, and so I lived around the country, moving around different places for about 10 years. But my family has been in Wyandotte County since my mom's side, since 1857, and my dad's side, we think since the 1850s.
Before running for mayor, what kind of job did you have, and what did you do in it for community?
Right. So my main profession is education. Mm-hmm. So I worked at Rockhurst High School for 3 years, and then I moved out to California to study, and then I ran what was called the Student Support Program, which was helping students in Marin County who were struggling to stay in school. We provided services to them, to tutoring and experiential learning to try and keep them in school so they could graduate from high school. And then I came back to Kansas City and again started working at Rockhurst High School as a teacher. And then I became the dean of students, so I was in charge of all the discipline. And then I also was, for 4 years, was the assistant principal for faculty development, professional development. I also have served on the Planning and Zoning Commission of the Unified Government. I served 8 years on the Board of Public Utilities. I was awarded the Fred D. Deal Award for Outstanding Service by an elected official for public power in Kansas. And I work in my neighborhoods we tried to stop a development that was happening in our neighborhood, and we partially succeeded.
As the incumbent, what would you say is your biggest achievement?
I think my biggest achievement has really been the economic development we brought, but also, so that's been really good. We need to continue to get more development, but I think but what I really want to focus in on is those neighborhoods, especially east of 635, that need more development. We have a lot of vacant lots. We've had a lot of blight. I'm really putting together a plan to try and bring more development, new housing to those areas. So we've seen some real improvement in that, and we have to do that to improve our tax base. We've got to bring new housing into those areas that used to have housing, but don't have as much because they became blighted, had to be taken down. We have to get those properties back into the hands of people who will live there.
Provide an example of when you set expectations and monitor the performance of subordinates. What guidance and direction did you find most effective?
So that's really what I did, excuse me, as faculty development for Rockhurst High School. It's all about having a conversation with someone about, maybe they're having some problems in the classroom, having some difficulty, in teaching. And you look and say, well, let's just set a reasonable goal. So we just get one step better. And then but you show where we need to go, but then you say, but let's say the next step. And so you simply try to describe for people, help them describe what would be the next best step for them. And then you just check in on them and work with that. It's really hard to put numerical measurements on teacher performance. You really have to just have a conversation with them to say, all right, did you get through your class, your lesson plan today? Then what were the scores on your students on the test? And then just check that, and that helps them pay attention to what they're doing. They're the ones who really have to make the improvement.
Have you ever had any type of criminal records recently or in the past?
No.
In your experience, what is key to developing a good community?
Mainly, it's engagement. So there's so much good stuff happening in Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, and one of the honors for me is to be able to point out the good things other people are doing. I can't do it all. No one should expect a mayor to do it all, or should not really expect the city government to do it all. But but we have so many neighborhood leaders across this community, institutional leaders who are doing so many good things. I get to see those things and point to that and say, see what these people are doing. And so I think it's really about highlighting, paying attention to the good that's already happening there, and then asking people, what more can we do to help you?
How do you control your emotions when speaking to people or a large audience? Do you ever feel nervous or not feel confident?
No. As a teacher, I was always in front, and then as disciplinarian, I'd have to stand up in front of, 1,000 boys and tell them what we're going to do and what we're not going to do. I like public speaking, and I get a little bit of nervous, but it's good energy. So it doesn't bother me at all. I enjoy it.
If reelected, tell me how you will organize, plan, and execute your next big achievement for the city.
Well, what we're currently working on is this plan to bring new housing into the eastern part of the county. So we're already in that process. So what that means is I have a group of members from the unified government staff, the people who actually run the city, and we meet every 2 weeks to discuss where are we? What is it going to take for us to get land bank properties into people's hands? What is it going to take to get the building process streamlined, make it faster, the permitting a little bit faster, and then what do we need to do to improve the neighborhood where these houses will go? So that is already in process. It's just been a continuous thing, but I've been really able to talk to different people who would like to come in and build, developers and others, and they're very interested, and we're coming together with the process that's going to make it easier and less expensive for them to build. And if we make it less expensive for them to build, then it makes it more affordable for those who would purchase the properties. So that's what we're working on.
What is the most challenging part of budgeting for Wyandotte County?
Well, the most difficult part of budgeting, and I think this is for any city or county or state, is there's never enough revenues, and there's always something more you need to get done. And so if you look at Wyandotte County, what our needs are and what our revenue sources are, that is getting that difference between what we have and what we need is getting bigger. So that's the most hardest part. So then you have to prioritize. We don't have money to do everything. So what are those most important things we need to do? I think that's the biggest challenge, getting enough revenues to take care of what our residents really deserve.
Tell me about your team building skills.
Well, I guess you'd have to ask others about that. What I find is if you are just simply honest and straightforward with people and say, well, this is what we're trying to get at. If we all agree on a vision of where we need to go, what we need to do, and we can all understand what that vision is, what that will look like if we get there. And then as people start to make progress, you really encourage them, affirm them, and say, thank you, you did a great job. What next can we do? And then if we're falling short of the mark, you have a conversation with them and say, well, this didn't get us where we wanted to be. What more do we need to do? Do you need extra help? Do you need some resources? Is there something that's maybe you're resistant? Those are the kinds of conversations you have to have with someone.
Provide an example of a time when you successfully organized a diverse group of people to accomplish a task.
Well, I mean, I could talk about many things. I think I'll go back to when I was in California working with the student support program. We had 4 different teachers in 4 different schools, and we combined 3 different programs into one program, and I was chosen to be the leader. And it was very hard to bring them together because they didn't really communicate with one another because they were different schools. But it's just about trying to meet with people and again say, what is our vision? Where do we need to get to? Why are we doing this work? What are we doing for these kids? What's the best thing we can do for them? And then what can each one of us do to try and make that happen? And it's just a continuous conversation. The most important thing in team building is just having honest, straightforward conversations on a regular, consistent basis about what you're trying to achieve. Stop talking about ourselves and start talking about our mission. What are we trying to do for people?
Tell us what you consider your biggest failure as Wyandotte County Mayor.
Well, I think when I fail, it's because I'm not having those conversations. And so the best thing I can do is have those conversations. And then there are some times when you start thinking, oh, I just don't want to give this person bad news, or I don't want to say something negative, or I don't take an opportunity to congratulate someone for a job well done. At those moments, that would be failure.
Have you ever had any public experience, good or bad, that has changed the way you normally connect to the community?
Oh, I think every experience you have with the community changes you just a little bit. Either, if you reflect upon what the experience was and say, what could I do better? And so I would say that one of the things I thought really was helpful before COVID, we had organized community meetings, and I wanted to go out to each 5 different areas in Wyandotte County and do a presentation to show where the county was, what was the progress we were making. And but one of the things we did is I had an idea of a half-hour presentation to those who came, but then we also had members of representatives from the police department, the sheriff's department, health department, treasury department, code enforcement, the board of public utilities, the public school districts, and they were available. They had tables set up. They were available to take any questions. If you came to the meeting, if you had a question about your tax bill, or if you had a question about code enforcement, there was someone there you could talk to directly. And that really impressed me. And we had to stop that because of COVID. We couldn't have in-person meetings. But we're going to bring those back because it's so important for people to feel like they can access their government. Instead of having to come all the way down to City Hall and find the office, you can have a personal contact with someone who can help you answer your questions or concerns right there. So that really changed my view about we have to bring the government out to people more often on a regular basis, because it was very well received. People were very appreciative. They were able to talk to someone in person, and it's something that we shouldn't take for granted. We need to do more of that.
Well, that's all the questions I have for you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Alvey, for sharing your information with us, and we wish you the best of luck and a better future for Wyandotte County.
All right. Jason, thank you, and congratulations and good luck at UMKC.
Thank you.